Go on, Howard. Tell the courtroom more about what Mr. Cates told you in the classroom.
Well, at first he said that the earth was real hot, and then it cooled off, and these cells began to live.
The guy there.
Cells?
Oh, cells. They're like these little bugs in the water, and then those bugs became bigger bugs and sprouted legs and crawled up on the land.
How long did this take, according to Mr. Cates?
A couple million years, maybe more. Then came the fishes and the reptiles and the mammals and man's mammal.
Along with the dogs and the cattle in the field. Did he say that?
Yes, sir.
So, tell us, Howard, how did man come out of this slimy mess of bugs and serpents, according to your professor?
Well, Mr. Cates said they sort of evoluted from the old world monkeys.
Did you hear that, my friends? Old world monkeys! According to Mr. Cates, you and I aren't even descended from good old American monkeys! Now, Howard, listen carefully. All this talk of bugs and evolution and of slime and ooze. Did Mr. Cates ever make one reference to God?
Not as I remember.
Or the miracle he created in 7 days as described in the beautiful book of Genesis?
No, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Objection! I ask that the court remind the learned counsel that this is not a Chautauqua tent. He is supposed to be submitting evidence to a jury.
Your Honor, I have no intention of making a speech. Everybody on this jury, everybody within the sound of this boy's voice is moved by this tragic confusion.
Right.
He has been taught that he wriggled up from the ground, from the filth and the muck below like an animal. Now I say that these Bible haters, these evolutionists, are brewers of poison. And the legislature of this sovereign state have had the wisdom to demand that peddlers of poison, whether in bottles or in books, clearly label the products they attempt to sell.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I tell you, if this law is not upheld, this boy will be one of a generation shorn of its faith by the teachings of godless science.
Amen.
But if the full penalty of the law is meted out to Bertram Cates, the faithful, the world over, who are watching us and listening to our every word, will call this courtroom blessed! Your witness, sir.
Well done.
Well, I sure am glad that Colonel Grady didn't make a speech. Howard, I heard you say the world used to be pretty hot.
Yes, sir.
You figure it was any hotter than it is right now?
Guess it must have been. Mr. Cates read it to us from a book.
Do you know what book?
I guess that Mr. Darwin book.
Oh, you figure there's anything wrong with that, Howard?
Well, I don't know.
Objection, Your Honor. The defense is asking that a 13-year-old boy hand down an opinion on a question of morality.
I'm trying to establish that Howard, or Colonel Grady, or Charles Darwin, or anyone in this courtroom, or you, sir, has the right to think.
Colonel Drummond, the right to think is not on trial here.
With all respects to the bench, I must say that the right to think is very much on trial. It is fearfully in danger in the proceedings of this court.
A man is on trial.
A thinking man, and he is threatened with fine and imprisonment because he chooses to speak what he thinks.
Colonel Drummond, would you please rephrase your question?
Well, let's put it this way, Howard. All this fuss and feathers about evolution, did it hurt you any?
Sir?
Did it do you any harm? You still feel reasonably fit? What Mr. Cates told you, did it hurt the baseball game any? Affect your pitching arm?
No, sir. I'm a lefty.
A southpaw, eh? Still honor your father and your mother?
Sure.
Haven't murdered anybody since?
Objection sustained.
You ask him if his holy faith in the scriptures has been shattered thanks to that godless teacher.
When I need your valuable help, Colonel, you may rest assured that I shall humbly ask for it. Howard, do you believe everything that Mr. Cates told you?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to think it over.
Good for you. Your pa's a farmer, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
Got a tractor?
Brand new one.
You figure a tractor's sinful because it's not mentioned in the Bible?
I don't know, sir.
Moses never made a phone call. You figure that makes the telephone an instrument of the devil?
Well, I guess I never thought of it that way.
Neither has anybody else. Your Honor, the defense is making the same old error of all godless men. They confuse material things with the great spiritual realities of the revealed word. Why do you confuse and bewilder this boy? Do you have no right of sense?
Realizing that I may prejudice the case of my client, I must say that right has no meaning to me whatsoever. Truth has meaning as a direction, but one of the peculiar imbecilities of our time is the grid of morality which must be placed on all human behavior, so that every act of man must be measured against an arbitrary latitude of degrees. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about, Howard?
No, sir.
Well, maybe you will someday. Thank you, son, that's all.
Witness is excused. We won't need you anymore, Howard. You can go back to your pa now. The next witness.
Will Miss Rachel Brown come forward, please?
Lord have mercy.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Good girl.
Miss Brown, you are a teacher at the Hillsborough Consolidated School.
Yes.
So you have had ample opportunity to know the defendant, Mr. Cates, professionally.
Yes.
Is Mr. Cates a member of the spiritual community to which you belong?
Objection! I don't understand this chatter about spiritual community. If the prosecutor wants to know if they go to the same church, why doesn't he ask that?
Objection overruled. You will answer the question, please.
I did answer it, didn't I? What was the question?
Do you and Mr. Cates attend the same church?
Not anymore. Bert dropped out 2 summers ago.
Why?
It was what happened with the little Stebbins boy.
Would you tell us about that? Please.
The boy was 11 years old and he went swimming in the river and got a cramp and drowned. Bert felt awful about it. He lived next door and Thomas Stebbins used to come over to the boarding house and look through Bert's microscope. Bert said the boy had a quick mind and might even be a scientist when he grew up. At the funeral, Pa preached that Tommy didn't die in a state of grace because his folks never had him baptized.
Why don't you tell him what he really said? That Tommy's soul is damned, writhing in hellfire.
Oh, thanks, you sinner!
Let's get him.
We will have order, please.
Your Honor, I request that the defendant's remarks